Okay, in this video, we are going to solve square root equation problems, and these are the three problems that we will solve together. But before we solve these problems, there are four steps, in my opinion, to solve square root equations. The first step, I like to call it isolate the radical. You want to get the square root term by itself. The second step says square both sides. The third step says solve the equation, like solve for x. And then the fourth step says check for extraneous solutions, which are bad answers. And we'll see that today. So this is the first one. And my first step says isolate the radical. We want the square root by itself. So this is our square root piece. We want to get this piece by itself, but we have a plus 5. And the way to get rid of the plus 5 is by subtracting 5 on both sides. And now we can rewrite it as the square root of x minus 2 is equal to 9 minus 5 is 4. So step 1 is done. We isolated the radical. Now step 2 says square both sides. And so that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to square this side. If you square the left-hand side, you have to square the right-hand side. And by squaring a square root, it cancels, and you just get the inside piece, which is x minus 2 is equal to 4 raised to 2. So 4 squared gives us 16. Now we want to get x by itself, so we need to get rid of the negative 2, so we can add 2 on both sides. And then we get x is equal to 18. Now, a good rule is to always check for extraneous solution whenever you have square root problems. So we're going to check if this is a valid answer. So what I'm going to do is plug in 18 back into the original equation. So instead of an x, put 18. So 18 minus 2, outside is a plus 5. And does it equal to 9? That is what we need to figure out. 18 minus 2 is 16. So the square root of 16 plus 5, does it equal to 9? Square root of 16 is 4. And 4 plus 5 is equal to 9. So this is a correct answer. So x is equal to 18 is the only answer for this problem. Now we'll do another problem, same procedure. It looks different, and the way we're actually going to solve this problem is slightly different, but it's still going to be the same procedure. The first step says isolate the radical. So this is our radical. So we need to get rid of this plus 3, so we're going to subtract 3 on both sides. We get x minus 3 is equal to the square root of 2x plus 2. So step 1 is done. We got the radical by itself. Step 2 says square both sides. So we're going to put a parentheses, parentheses, square. If you do it on the right-hand side, you'll have to do it on the left-hand side. And the whole point of squaring both sides is we want to get rid of the square root, so it's more manageable. This is the part where it's going to look slightly different. We have x minus 3 squared. The last problem, we just had a constant squared. So the way I'm going to do this is rewrite this as x minus 3 times x minus 3 is equal to a squaring, a square root. It cancels. You just get the inside piece. Now, doing this, you can use your distributive property, and I'll show it. Why not? X times x, x times negative 3, negative 3 times x, negative 3 times negative 3. And x times x is x squared. X times negative 3 is negative 3x. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. And negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9, is equal to 2x plus 2. We can clean this up a bit. So negative 3x gives you negative 6x. So x squared minus 6x plus 9 is equal to 2x plus 2. Now we need to make this piece equal to 0 in order for us to factor and to eventually solve for x. So I'm going to make this piece negative 2x, make this piece negative 2x. If you do something on the right-hand side of the equal sign, you have to do it on the left-hand side. Same for positive 2. Negative 2, negative 2. We get x squared minus 8x. 9 minus 2 is positive 7 is equal to 0. At this point, we can factor this, and there's a lot of different methods. I have a whole series on different types of factoring methods. So in this case, I'm actually going to do this mentally, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that. I'm going to put a parentheses. This is an x squared, so I'm going to put x, parentheses, parentheses, x. Now I think to myself, what number times itself gives us 7, but it adds up to be negative 8? Well, I know negative 7 times negative 1 is positive 7. Negative 7 minus 1 is negative 8. Again, I have so many different videos on different factoring methods, so if you want to see different methods of factoring, there's going to be a playlist in my description. Is equal to 0. At this point, we have to remember a very, very important principle in math. 0 times any number is 0. So easily we can make this piece 0, and if this piece is 0, 0 times a billion is still going to be 0. So to make this piece equal to 0, x could be 1. If x is positive 1, 1 minus 1 is 0, and then 1 minus 7 is negative 6, so 0 times any number is 0. And same idea for this, so if this piece is 0 times any number is still going to be 0. So x is equal to positive 7 because 7 minus 7 is 0. So we have two answers. Now that we have two answers for a square root problem, this is a big indicator that we need to check for extraneous solution. So what we're going to do is plug in our answers back into the original equation. So literally I'm going to plug in a 1 for x. So if x is equal to 1, we need to know, will this be a true statement? So if x is 1, we have 1 is equal to the square root. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. I'm just going to put 4 plus 3. And the square root of 4 is 2. 2 plus 3 is 5. And 5 does not equal to 1. So this is not true. So this is something called an extraneous solution or a bad answer. Now we need to try 7. X is equal to 7. Let's try it out. We put a 7 right here. Is equal to the square root. 2 times 7 is 14. 14 plus 2 is 16. Plus 3, and the square root of 16 is 4. 4 plus 3 is 7, so this is a correct answer. So for this problem, the only answer is x is equal to 7, and x is equal to 1 is an extraneous solution or a bad answer. So it's not a true answer for this problem. Okay, our last problem, same procedure. We're going to still follow those 4 steps. Step 1 says isolate the radical. We want to get the square root by itself, and guess what? It's already given for us. Step 2 says square both sides. So we're going to square this side and we're going to square this side. And so we can rewrite this. So x minus 2 times x minus 2 is equal to, when you square a square root, it cancels and you just get the inside piece. So x minus 2. Okay, next we're going to expand. So x times x is x squared. X times negative 2 is negative 2x. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. Okay, next we can clean it up a little bit. So these two we can combine. We get x squared minus 4x plus 4 is equal to x minus 2. Now again, for this problem, same idea as the last one. Step 3 says solve the equation. At this point, looking at what we have, we can't solve the equation. We have to do something in order to solve the equation. So we're going to want to make this side equal to 0, and then we're going to want to factor. So we can subtract x on both sides, subtract x on both sides, add 2 on both sides, add 2 on both sides. We get x squared, negative 4x minus x is negative 5x. 4 plus 2 is 6, is equal to 0. Now we can factor. Again, we're going to do it mentally. So put x, parentheses, parentheses, x. Now we think to ourselves, what number times itself gives you 6, but adds to be negative 5? Well, negative 3 and negative 2, because negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6. Negative 2 minus 3 is negative 5, is equal to 0. And then the big idea, 0 times any number is 0, so we want to make this piece 0. What value of x makes it 0? And x would be 2. Then we try this piece, what value of x makes it 0? 3 minus 3 is 0, so x is equal to 3. Now we got to try for extraneous solution. There's a chance both answers are going to be good. There's a chance maybe only one of them is going to be good. So it's very important that we need to check for extraneous solutions. So first we can try 2. If x is equal to 2, let's see if it's going to be a true case. 2 minus 2, let's write this down. 2 minus 2, is it equal to the square root of 2 minus 2? Well, 2 minus 2 is 0. And 2 minus 2 is also 0, and the square root of 0 is 0. So this is actually an answer, so we can box it in. Now, there's a chance that 3 could also be an answer, so we'll try that also. We'll plug it in. 3 minus 2, and 3 minus 2 is 1, is equal to the square root of 3 minus 2. 3 minus 2 is 1. The square root of 1 is also 1. So this is also a correct answer. So in this case, we have both answers are true, no extraneous solutions. And that's pretty much it to solve square root equations step by step.